At exactly 3:16 a.m., the skies over Earth seemed calm, but above the clouds, something strange had already begun. Every satellite in orbit suddenly went silent for 11 seconds. No signals, no images, no data. At the same time, deep space antennas around the world picked up a low, humming frequency that scientists could not explain. It wasn't just noise, it had a pattern, almost like a heartbeat. The strangest part was this: the signal wasn't coming from space. It was coming from somewhere below Earth's surface. No one knew what to make of it. Governments across the world quietly panicked. Was it an attack? A glitch? Or something far older than anyone imagined? In a quiet house in Colorado, Dr. Amelia Cross, a retired NASA researcher, sat awake in bed, staring at her phone. She had received a message in a code she hadn't seen in over 25 years, a language she once helped decode, then was told to forget forever. The message was simple: he stirs again. Return to the mountain. Amelia's heart raced. She had hoped to never see those words again. Back in 2001, on a secret research trip in Alaska, she and a small team discovered something buried deep in the ice, an enormous stone face with eyes closed, half buried, ancient, and impossible to identify. No one could explain it. No one had any idea who or what it was. The face wasn't made by humans, and it wasn't a statue. It was part of something larger, something alive, though sleeping. Before she could investigate further, the military took over the site, wiped the records, and forced everyone on the team to sign silence contracts. Amelia quit NASA that year. She didn't want to be part of secrets anymore. But now, that same face had returned in her dreams, in her messages, and possibly, in the signal coming from deep inside the Earth. Amelia packed quickly and drove to a private airstrip where she still had old contacts. She flew to Anchorage and then to a remote ice field near Denali. When she arrived, she stood in shock. The ice had melted. The ancient glacier where the stone face was buried had cracked and collapsed. But the face was no longer there. It had vanished. What was more disturbing was the massive hole left behind, perfectly circular, and glowing faintly blue. She stepped closer, the snow crunching under her boots. Her breath fogged in the freezing air. The wind howled. She felt like she wasn't alone. Suddenly, a soft humming began to rise from the hole, and the ground under her feet trembled. She dropped to her knees, staring into the glow. There were symbols carved into the walls of the hole, symbols she recognized. They matched the message she had received. She touched one gently, and the air around her shimmered, as if reality itself had rippled. At that exact moment, half a world away, a group of astrophysicists in Hawaii detected something unbelievable. A signal, buried in the background of space, had started repeating the same pulse heard earlier, but this time, the pattern was more complex. It now carried an image of blurred face, eyes closed, just like the one Amelia had seen buried in ice years ago. The team tried to decode it but failed. The signal seemed intelligent but ancient, as if created by something older than language itself. They sent the data to a top-secret global science network. Meanwhile, Amelia descended carefully into the glowing pit. As she reached the bottom, she found something else, a large metallic platform half buried in frozen mud. It wasn't man-made. It looked like a landing pad or maybe a doorway. In the center was a tall, crystal-like pillar, pulsing with soft light. She placed her hand on it, and the light flared brighter. A deep, powerful voice echoed in her mind, not in English, but somehow, she understood. The seal is broken. The Guardian wakes. She stumbled back, heart pounding. The Guardian? From what? From where? She barely had time to think before the ground above her cracked again, and a huge piece of ice crashed down nearby. The pit was becoming unstable. She grabbed a small sample from the pillar's edge, took one last photo, and climbed out fast. As she reached the surface, her satellite phone rang. It was a voice she hadn't heard in years. General Mason, the man who led the cover-up of the original site. "Dr. Cross," he said. "You shouldn't be there. Then tell me what's happening, she said sharply. The Guardian, he replied slowly, wasn't meant to wake. If he rises, it means something else is coming. Before she could ask more, the call ended. The snow around her began to melt rapidly, steam rising from the ground. Something deep inside the earth was heating up. That night, across the globe, strange things began to happen. Animals acted strangely. Birds flew in circles. Dogs howled without reason. Earth's magnetic field wobbled for 2 full minutes. And in orbit, a satellite caught a glimpse of something enormous moving through space beyond Jupiter. At first, it looked like a comet, but it changed shape, moved too fast, and swallowed light instead of reflecting it. The image was blurry, but one thing was clear, it was heading toward Earth. No known technology could explain it. The object gave off no heat, no signal, no signs of propulsion. Just silence. Back in Alaska, Amelia sat by a small fire, reviewing the photo she had taken. The face carved into the ancient pillar was similar to the one she remembered from years ago, but this time, the eyes were open and staring directly at her. Her hand trembled. She realized the truth she had been avoiding. The Guardian hadn't just awakened. He was watching. And the signal wasn't a warning. It was a call. Someone or something had heard it. The silence of the past was broken. And now, the shadows were moving. Deep below the icy surface of Alaska, something had started to move slowly, heavily, as if waking from a sleep that lasted for ages. The glowing hole where Amelia Cross had stood earlier was now sealed off by the military. Satellites were redirected, cameras were shut down, and anyone who got too close was warned away. But the activity underground could not be hidden. Seismic stations in Alaska, Russia, and Canada all reported strange vibrations, not chaotic, like earthquakes, but steady, rhythmic pulses. Almost like a heartbeat. In Washington, D.C., General Mason stood inside a dark room filled with large screens showing maps, signals, and warnings. "It's active again," a young officer said, her voice shaky. "Same pattern as the Black Echo event in 2001. Mason stared at the signal chart. He had seen it before. It was the same pattern they discovered 2 decades ago when the Guardian was first found, but now it was faster, louder, and spreading through the ground like a wave. Somewhere deep below the surface, something was waking. Meanwhile, Amelia Cross was being escorted by a military helicopter to a secret underground base she hadn't seen in 24 years. As she stepped off the chopper, she saw familiar faces, older, tired, and nervous. Dr. Ray Alvarez, her former partner in the 2001 research mission, gave her a quiet nod. "You really came back," he said. "I had to," she replied. "He's awake, isn't he?" Ray led her down into the facility, a mix of metal corridors and rocky tunnels carved deep into the earth. They passed armored doors and labs glowing with strange energy. At the center of it all was a vast underground chamber filled with ancient stone walls, glowing symbols, and something massive in the center, something that looked like a man, but not quite. It stood 20 feet tall, built of stone and glowing metal, with skin like obsidian and eyes shut tight. It looked like a statue, but the air around it pulsed, as if the thing was breathing without breath. "It's him," Amelia whispered. "The Guardian?" Ray nodded. "We built this chamber around him after the first discovery. He hasn't moved since. But 2 days ago, he twitched. One finger. Then both eyes opened and closed again." Amelia stepped closer. The floor vibrated under her boots. She stared at the Guardian's face, now clear under the lights. It was not human but not alien either. It was something in between. Something ancient, forgotten, and deeply connected to Earth. She reached out, and just as her fingers touched the stone, the Guardian's eyes flashed open, bright blue and filled with depth like a starless sky. A loud sound shook the chamber, not a roar, but a deep, vibrating tone that passed through the walls and into their bones. Lights flickered. Screens went dark. The chamber rumbled. The Guardian lifted one arm slowly, then stopped. From somewhere within the stone, a voice echoed not through sound, but inside their minds. The hollow star returns. Prepare the core. Then silence. The scientists and soldiers in the room froze, staring at each other in confusion and fear. Amelia stepped back, heart pounding. He's speaking, through us, she said. The hollow star, what is that? Ray pulled her into a nearby lab. He showed her data collected in the past 48 hours. One file showed a strange shape moving through space past Jupiter. We tracked this object, Ray said. It doesn't reflect light. Doesn't send signals. But it's massive. We think it's alive. Amelia looked at the readings. The object had changed shape multiple times. It moved like it was searching for something. You think it's connected to the Guardian? She asked. Ray didn't answer. Instead, he opened a drawer and pulled out a small metal cube covered in symbols. Remember this, he said. Amelia gasped. It was one of the keys they had found during the first expedition, a device that couldn't be opened, activated, or explained. Until now. As they watched, the cube began to glow. The symbols rearranged themselves into words they could now read. When I rise, so does the shadow. Ray placed the cube on a pedestal near the chamber's edge. The Guardian's head turned slightly toward it. Then he spoke again, but this time, the entire chamber filled with his voice. You sealed me in light. But the light is fading. They have returned. Suddenly, an alarm rang through the base. A guard ran in, panic on his face. Sir, something's coming through the Earth's crust, rising fast. From beneath. Amelia, Ray, and the others rushed to a nearby observation window that looked into a second chamber, one still under excavation. The ground cracked open, and a giant crystal tower emerged, glowing red and black. The walls around it were covered in burned markings, claw marks, symbols of chaos, and shapes that didn't look like anything from Earth. Amelia stared, stunned. That's not part of the Guardian, she said. That's something else. General Mason arrived at the window and looked down. We think it's a receiver, he said. For a signal. Not from Earth, but from whatever's out there. Amelia's mind raced. You think the thing past Jupiter is calling to this tower? Mason nodded grimly. And this tower is answering. The chamber shook again. The Guardian raised both hands now, fully awake. His body glowed with lines of blue fire, and he spoke once more, the core must be awakened. Or all will fall to shadow. The lights went out. Power failed. Emergency lights flickered on. But in the darkness, something else lit up, a map, projected in the air by the Guardian himself. It showed Earth, then the solar system, and then, something massive approaching from beyond. A black wave stretching across stars. The hollow star. Amelia looked around the room. The scientists, the soldiers, even the hardened general all stared in silent fear. What happens if we don't awaken the core? Ray asked quietly. Amelia didn't have to guess. She already knew. Then we'll lose more than Earth, she said. We'll lose the stars. In the cold depths of the base, under the weight of stone and secrets, the Guardian of Earth had awakened. But he had not risen to save. He had risen to warn. And in the deep sky beyond, the hollow star continued to move, silent, shapeless, and coming fast. In the cold darkness of space, just beyond Jupiter, something massive began to drift, silent, slow, and shapeless. At first, it appeared like a cloud of gas or a patch of darkness, but as it moved, telescopes around Earth started losing track of it. It wasn't just hard to see, it seemed to swallow light. Scientists called it an absence, a patch of space where no light escaped and no readings returned. But the Guardian knew exactly what it was. Inside the secret base in Alaska, the Guardian stood motionless again, his glowing eyes fixed on the floating black tower that had risen from the Earth's crust. That tower was no part of him. It belonged to the enemy. To the hollow star. Dr. Amelia Cross watched the tower with growing fear. It pulsed with red energy, and above it, tiny sparks of lightning flashed. Every hour, it grew brighter, louder, more alive. She could feel it vibrating through her bones. Nearby, Dr. Ray Alvarez studied the satellite images from Jupiter. "It's growing," he whispered. "That thing in space, it's getting bigger." Amelia leaned closer. The black shape near Jupiter had now spread like a massive wing across part of the planet, wrapping around its southern edge. But it was no wing. It had fingers long, shadowy tendrils that moved like arms. And in one frame, a shape appeared at the center. A face? Or something close to one. A smooth surface, like a mask, with empty eyes that stared through the camera lens as if it knew it was being watched. Ray played the next image, but it was blank. The telescope had stopped working. Not broken, just silent. "It's erasing data," Ray said. "Not hiding, erasing." Amelia remembered the Guardian's warning, "The hollow star returns." She turned back toward him. His eyes glowed again, and a new projection appeared in the air, a map of the solar system. A red line stretched from the black shape near Jupiter to Earth. Then, without warning, the Guardian lifted one arm and pointed toward the moon. "The first seal breaks there," he said. Everyone turned to the screens. Satellites showed a small, growing crack on the moon's surface right along a ridge no one had studied before. As they zoomed in, they saw it was not just a crack. It was a Linus symbol. One that matched the markings on the Black Tower in Alaska. "There's something inside the moon," Amelia whispered. General Mason entered the room, his face pale. "We sent a probe to scan the crack. It disappeared. No signal. Just gone." Ray pulled up past records from lunar missions. A long-forgotten file showed an old image from 1972, a blurry photograph that showed something buried deep beneath the moon's crust. It looked like a chamber. Now, 50 years later, the same chamber was opening. Back underground, the Guardian began to move again. With slow, heavy steps, he walked to the Black Tower. Energy sparked between them. His voice filled the air. "The enemy marked your world in shadows before the stars were young. They placed seeds in your sky, your ground, and your moon. One by one, they wake." Amelia stepped beside him. "How do we stop them?" she asked. The Guardian turned to her. "You do not stop what has no life. You only contain the dark with light." "The core," Amelia said. "The Earth's core." He nodded. "The light of origins. Hidden deep. Forgotten by your kind." Suddenly, the alarms blared again. A new alert flashed across the screens. The black object near Jupiter had moved fast. It was no longer drifting. It was coming. At impossible speed. It would reach Mars in 3 days. "That's not possible," Ray said. "Nothing moves that fast in space. Nothing real." "It is not real as you know it," the Guardian said. "It is hunger given shape." Amelia felt a cold chill run through her. Outside the base, a sudden snowstorm had begun, but the clouds above were not natural. They spun in strange patterns, circling over the Black Tower like a slow, spiraling eye. Across the world, strange weather appeared. Heat waves in the Arctic. Snow in the desert. And every now and then, strange sounds in the sky, low hums, like distant voices, whispering in languages no one understood. In Tokyo, an astronomer watching the sky disappeared during a live stream. The last thing heard was him saying, "It's looking back at me." In Brazil, a radio telescope caught a repeating signal, 3 tones, always the same. But when the sound was slowed down, it formed a clear voice. "Prepare the shell. The Guardian fails." Amelia heard the recording and looked toward the Guardian. "They know you're awake," she said. He did not answer. He only turned and walked back to the glowing pillar at the chamber's center. With both hands, he touched the symbols on its side, and a beam of light shot upward, straight through the earth. Around the planet, ancient markers buried under cities, oceans, and mountains lit up. None of them had been discovered before, but now, they glowed. The Guardian spoke again. The light must rise before the shadow arrives, or Earth will become its shell. General Mason leaned closer to Amelia. We need to understand what this core is. What did they hide inside Earth? Amelia took a deep breath. Not what? Who? Ray turned quickly. You think something else is down there? She nodded. Something older than the Guardian. Maybe even older than the hollow star. Back at Jupiter, the shadow kept spreading. A probe near Mars picked up a massive energy reading dark matter levels off the charts. Then came a signal. A single image beamed back to Earth before the probe died. It showed the surface of the black shape, and carved into it, clear as day, was the Guardian's face. But it was twisted. Broken. Crying black tears. The message was clear. The hollow star wasn't just coming. It was personal. Amelia stared at the image, her hands trembling. Ray spoke softly. Why would the enemy carry his face? The Guardian answered, because once, long ago, it was me. Silence filled the room. The Guardian's body glowed brighter now, as if awakened by painful memories. I was its shield, he said. But I fell. And when I fell, it rose. I split myself to keep it locked away. My body became Earth's wall. My mind was buried in the stars. Amelia whispered, and your heart? Still sleeps, he replied. Inside your world's core? The pieces were starting to fit. Earth had been a prison. A shield. A seal. And now, the seal was breaking. The Black Tower was not the only one. Across the globe, more dark structures began to rise in oceans, deserts, and deep forests, each one calling to the hollow star. And the shadow kept coming. A storm in space. A darkness so deep, it could erase light, memory, and time itself. The only hope now was to find the last piece of the Guardian, his heart, and awaken the full power of the core. But there was a cost. Amelia knew it already. Whatever power slept inside Earth, unlocking it might destroy the planet. The Guardian turned one last time, his voice now weaker. Prepare yourselves. The hollow star will speak. And when it does, even the brave will forget their names. Then, across Earth, the skies turned red. The stars dimmed. And from the black shape above Jupiter came the first true sound. A deep, endless scream, made of silence. Across the world, strange things were happening. A schoolteacher in Cairo fainted during class and woke up drawing a map of a galaxy she had never seen. A little boy in Tokyo, who had never spoken a word in his life, began talking fluently in a forgotten language no one could identify. In Montana, a farmer looked at the stars and suddenly remembered names of planets that no human had ever visited. It was as if people were remembering things they had never lived. But to the Guardian, it was no surprise. These people had not gained memories, they had lost them long ago, and now, the memories were returning. In the underground base, Amelia Cross stood in front of a large holographic map that the Guardian had just created. It showed hundreds of red dots across the Earth, places where pieces of the old war were buried. These are markers, the Guardian explained, his voice echoing gently. Signs of the resistance that once stood here. Long before your time. Before memory was sealed. Amelia couldn't believe what she was hearing. Are you saying Earth was part of a war? A galactic war? The Guardian nodded slowly. Earth was not just part of it. Earth was the heart of it. The last stand. Dr. Ray Alvarez stared at the glowing dots on the map. But we never knew. There's no record. No sign. No evidence in history. Because it was hidden, the Guardian said. Wiped from minds. Buried beneath skin and soil. To protect the light of origins. Amelia stepped forward. What is the light of origins? The Guardian paused for a long moment. It is the first spark. The source of creation. When the hollow star turned to darkness, the light was removed from the stars and sealed here, in your planet's core. And you, she asked. I was created to guard it. I failed once. Silence fell over the room. The guardian's body flickered slightly, as if the memories caused pain. The hollow star was once like me. A protector. A guide. But it grew proud. It tried to harness the light, to control it. When it touched the spark, it was changed. Hollowed. Its soul died, but its body lived. It became hunger. It devoured worlds. It came for Earth, and I stopped it. But only by splitting my own self. My body became the seal. My mind drifted. My heart, I do not know where it lies. Amelia was overwhelmed. All her life, she believed Earth was just a small planet in a big galaxy. Now she knew it was a battlefield. A shield. A memory graveyard. And now those memories were waking. Across the globe, more strange events unfolded. A musician in France began playing melodies no human had ever written, and others who heard the music claimed to see visions of giant cities in the stars, of fleets of light and shadow clashing above alien skies. A prisoner in South Africa sketched images on his cell wall of the hollow star's arrival weeks before any news showed it. Amelia realized these weren't random people. They were all part of something. Survivors of a forgotten war. Reincarnated? Chosen? Carriers of ancient light? She didn't know. But the Guardian did. When the seal was created, the memories of all who fought were scattered, he explained. Some were born again on Earth. Others sleep. But now that the hollow star rises, the spark in them awakens. They are remembering who they were. What they fought for. Then we need to find them, Amelia said quickly. Gather them. Prepare for what's coming. Yes, the Guardian said. But not all who remember will be allies. Dr. Ray raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? The Guardian turned toward the black tower in the chamber's corner. Some were touched by the hollow star. Their memories are not their own. Just then, alarms rang across the base. A soldier burst into the control room, pale and shaking. Sir, we've lost contact with a base in Argentina. And the one in Siberia. We just received a message from both before blackout. It was the same sentence repeated, we see you, Guardian. Amelia's eyes widened. They've already started. The hollow star is reaching into Earth's minds. On the screen, a news signal appeared low, pulsing, and strange. It came from the moon. The crack had grown, and a red light now poured from it. The Guardian looked up. The second seal breaks. The prison weakens. On the moon's surface, a hidden structure revealed itself. Buried deep for millennia, it was now opening like a flower made of stone. At its center was a single spire, pointing toward Earth. It began to pulse. Not just light but thought. A psychic frequency. Around Earth, those who had awakened the ones with memories began to suffer. Screaming in pain. Seeing visions of the war. Some fell unconscious. Others began speaking in unknown languages. And one spoke with a different voice. A woman named Kara, in Norway, was being studied at a facility for strange memory symptoms. As scientists observed her, she suddenly sat upright. Her eyes turned black. And she spoke, not in her voice, but a cold, echoing one. Guardian, she said. You cannot stop what you created. Amelia, watching the live feed from the lab, froze. It's speaking through her? You sealed me in hunger, the voice said. I will return the favor. Then Kara collapsed. Blood ran from her nose. Her heart stopped. The hollow star had spoken. It wasn't just sending messages. It was entering minds. Amelia turned to the Guardian. You said you failed once. Why? The Guardian lowered his head. Because I believed I could face the hollow star alone. I believe my strength was enough. But it was not strength that sealed it, it was sacrifice. Millions gave their lives. And even then, I survived only by losing myself. Amelia felt the weight of his words. They were not just fighting a creature. They were fighting a memory. A shadow so deep, it lived in silence and light. The guardian raised his hands and summoned another image, one from long ago. A battlefield above a dying star. Ships made of crystal and gold fighting dark vessels that bled shadows. Voices crying. Worlds falling. A star collapsing as the hollow star consumed its light. It was not a war. It was an ending. And Earth had been the last hope. But now, the old hope was broken, and the darkness was waking again. Across the world, ancient symbols began appearing on buildings, on skin, on screens. The hollow star was writing its name into the planet's memory. The guardian whispered, "We are out of time." Amelia looked at him. "Then what do we do?" The guardian's body glowed. "We find the heart. The last piece of me. The only light strong enough to burn a shadow. But it lies deep, at the center of your world. Where no human has ever gone." Ray stepped forward. "Even if we could reach the core, how do we survive it?" The guardian looked at Amelia. "You already carry the key?" She blinked. "Me. Your blood holds the spark. You were there, in the first war. You were my guide." Amelia staggered back. Her vision blurred. Images flashed in her mind: alien skies, silver ships, a younger version of herself wearing armor made of starlight. "No," she whispered. "That's not possible." The guardian placed a hand on her shoulder. "You are remembering. And soon, all will." Outside, the sky turned darker than night. Not from clouds but from something beyond the atmosphere. Something massive. A shadow had entered orbit. The stars were fading. The hollow star was almost here. High above Earth, where satellites once moved quietly through black space, the stars were vanishing one by one, not because they were burning out, but because something had arrived. Something huge. Something alive. The hollow star had entered the solar system. It did not fly like a ship or move like a planet. It drifted slowly, casting a massive shadow that made even Jupiter look small. Its form changed constantly, shifting like smoke, folding in and out of itself, stretching across millions of miles. Every telescope that tried to focus on it either shut down or burned out, and radar signals bounced off it as if space itself had swallowed the data. But the worst part wasn't what they saw, it was what people started to feel. Around the world, humans with awakened memories began to collapse. They saw visions of falling stars, screaming voices, and black skies full of teeth. Some began to speak in the same deep voice heard before. "The door is open. The guardian will fall. The shell must break." In the Alaska base, Dr. Amelia Cross stood beside the guardian, her thoughts spinning. The guardian had told her she carried a spark, something from the First War. He believed she was once his guide, reborn on Earth to protect the last light. But Amelia didn't feel like a warrior or a savior. She felt afraid. Still, she knew they didn't have time to doubt. In the center of the base, the black tower pulsed with stronger energy now, and around the world, similar towers had begun to rise from deep oceans, deserts, mountains, and forests. Each tower sent signals upward straight toward the hollow star. "They are feeding it," Ray Alvarez said, watching the data scroll across his screen. "The towers are like beacons, or energy pipes." General Mason joined them, his voice tense. "We've lost communication with 3 major cities. People are disappearing, entire buildings just gone. The power grids are failing. And we just detected a massive gravitational shift coming from the moon." On screen, the moon cracked again. A deep scar spread across its surface, glowing with a red pulse. Then, a section of it crumbled away, revealing something hidden deep beneath an artificial structure, like a massive gate. "That was never natural," Amelia whispered. "The moon is a lock," Not anymore, the Guardian said. The hollow star has broken the second seal. As they watched, pieces of the moon began to float upward toward the approaching darkness. The hollow star was pulling matter into itself. It wasn't just approaching, it was preparing to consume. Suddenly, alarms screamed. A news signal appeared, one they hadn't expected. A direct message, sent to Earth from inside the hollow star. The signal wasn't just sound. It was thought. Everyone in the base froze as the voice entered their minds. It spoke in their own language, cold and empty. You were the flame. But you forgot. Now I return, and I am hungry. Then images followed. Memories that weren't theirs. Amelia saw a battlefield where stars burned and crumbled, where massive ships clashed in silence. She saw herself, her past self, standing beside the Guardian, holding a golden blade made of light. She had led an army. She had watched worlds fall. She had made a choice to erase it all, to save Earth. Then came the final image, Earth, glowing bright like a sun, being swallowed by darkness. The message ended. Amelia dropped to her knees. Her memories had returned in full. She was the guide. She had fought the hollow star once before. She had helped seal the Guardian. And now, it was happening again. I remember everything, she said quietly. The Guardian stepped closer. Then you know what must be done. We must go to the core, she said. Your heart. The last light. Rhea looked uncertain. But how? No one can survive that deep. There's a way, the Guardian replied. He touched the black tower again, and the symbol on its side shifted. The ground below them trembled. A hidden elevator began to rise, a circular platform made of crystal and old stone. This is not human technology, General Mason said. It was made before your kind, the Guardian answered. By those who fell before the First War? Amelia stepped onto the platform, her heart racing. We go now. We find the heart, or Earth is lost. The Guardian joined her, and the platform began to descend deep into the Earth. As they went down, layer by layer, they passed ancient structures buried in the crust, ruins of long-lost cities, ships, and machines. Earth was no stranger to war. It had simply forgotten. At the same time, above the Earth, the hollow star began to open. A slit appeared at its center, wide and black. Inside, swirling lights twisted like a broken galaxy. And within it, eyes. Billions of them. Watching. Waiting. And then, it spoke again, not just through thoughts, but through every screen, speaker, and phone on the planet. You locked me in hunger. You buried your truth. Now, I return your gift. Across the globe, technology failed. Lights went out. Planes stopped midair. Machines crashed. A global blackout swept across every continent. Only the black towers continued to pulse. Ray, left in the base, stared at the power outage map. It was total. Earth had gone dark. Except for one thing, a single signal from deep underground. From Amelia and the Guardian. The descent continued. Temperatures should have been deadly, but the platform created a shield of light, protecting them. Finally, they reached a vast cavern, a glowing golden space filled with ancient machinery and a massive structure at the center, a beating heart made of light, suspended in crystal. The Guardian stepped forward. My heart. My power. My end. Amelia knew what he meant. To release the power, the Guardian would have to merge fully body, mind, and heart. It would destroy him. But it was the only way to fight the hollow star. Suddenly, the cavern shook violently. The hollow star had reached Earth's orbit. Outside, the sky turned black, and cities began to fall into silence. We're out of time, Amelia said. She placed her hand on the heart. It glowed brighter, recognizing her touch. The Guardian stepped into the crystal chamber. Light surrounded him. And then, a voice rang out, not from him, but from above. The hollow star had found them. You cannot stop what you once served, it said. You are part of me? The Guardian looked at Amelia one last time. Remember the light? The chamber exploded with brightness. From deep inside Earth, a beam of pure energy shot upward, blasting through the crust, the base, and into the sky straight at the hollow star. In orbit, the shadow screamed. The light struck its center, and for the first time, it shrank. Just a little. Enough. The world didn't know what had happened. But those who remembered, felt hope again. The hollow star had arrived. But so had the light. And the final battle had just begun. From the moment the light shot upward from deep inside the Earth, the world paused. For the first time since the arrival of the hollow star, it stopped growing. Its surface flickered. The billions of eyes watching from within it turned away not in retreat, but in surprise. On Earth, in the silent base above the Alaskan mountains, Ray Alvarez stood among dark screens and flickering emergency lights, staring at the last signal still active, a single golden pulse coming from below. She did it, he whispered. They found it. The core. But celebration was short. Around him, systems sparked and screens melted. The base was falling apart from the energy blast that erupted from the Guardian's heart. Meanwhile, deep beneath the Earth's surface, Amelia stood alone. The crystal chamber had collapsed behind her. The Guardian was gone. Not destroyed but transformed. His light now flowed through the vast golden machines buried deep in the Earth's mantle. She was surrounded by them. Ancient machines, no, not machines, something older. Living memory. A hidden network of energy veins and structures, built long before the human timeline even began. The Earth's core was more than molten metal. It was a heart, wrapped in forgotten power. A last defense. And now it was awake. Amelia walked slowly into the center chamber, where pillars of white stone hummed with life. Each pillar was etched with alien markings, but somehow she understood them. They told a story. Of a time before time. Of a war between light and void. Of guardians born from stars. Of Earth chosen to carry a spark of the last sun. And of betrayal. One of the guardians had fallen into darkness. That darkness became hunger. That hunger became the hollow star. Amelia suddenly saw more. She saw herself. Not as a scientist. Not even as the guide. But as the key. In the final battle ages ago, the first spark had been hidden in her soul, not in the guardian's body. She hadn't just guided him. She was the light. The real core. That was why the hollow star wanted her. And why the Earth had hidden her memory. But it was too late now. The truth was out. Above the planet, the hollow star screamed. Across the sky, black clouds formed patterns, symbols, warnings. The oceans surged. Lightning struck in spirals. And then it happened. From inside the hollow star, something broke loose. A shape, larger than the Earth itself, began to emerge. It wasn't a ship or a creature. It was a weapon, a cosmic parasite that had destroyed suns and swallowed galaxies. It fed not on matter, but on meaning, on identity, history, memory. It erased civilizations so completely that not even ruins were left. Amelia felt it press into her thoughts. It whispered in every voice she had ever known, "You are not real. I made you. Let go." She staggered, falling to her knees. The core flickered. The golden light dimmed. All around her, the ground trembled. The Earth knew it was under attack, not from outside, but from inside the mind of its last protector. Amelia fought to breathe. Fought to remember her name. But the hollow star was winning. Just then, a voice returned. A warm voice. Gentle. "You are Amelia Cross. You held the spark. You chose Earth. You chose light." It was the Guardian. Not alive, not dead, but present. His energy echoed through the core. She felt his presence wrap around her like a shield. The parasite screamed again, furious, trying to tear her mind apart. But Amelia stood up. "I remember," she said. "I remember everything." Light burst from her body. The machines lit up. The core pulsed again, stronger this time. A new beam of light shot upward this time, not from one point, but from hundreds. Across the globe, the other towers awakened. They had been waiting for her spark. Now, they joined in. Together, they formed a planetary defense grid, not mechanical, but living. A forgotten network built into the Earth's own magnetic field. The parasite paused. It sensed danger. It tried to retreat, but it was too slow. The grid activated. Massive arcs of energy lanced through space, slicing into the hollow star. Not destroying it but holding it. Binding it in orbit like chains. The sky turned white for a moment. All electronics on Earth buzzed. Then silence. Everywhere. No noise. Just stillness. Amelia collapsed again, exhausted. But she smiled. The Earth was no longer prey. It was protected. The hollow star had been chained. But Ray's voice suddenly crackled through a half-broken radio. "Amelia? We're detecting movement again. Inside the hollow star. It's changing. Fast." She looked upward, her smile fading. On the surface of the hollow star, the parasite had begun to merge with the rest of the structure. Its chains strained and cracked. It wasn't giving up. It was adapting. Earth had bought time, but the final battle hadn't been stopped. Only delayed. Amelia stood, weak but determined. "Then we finish this," she said. "We go into the hollow star?" Ray paused. "You want to enter that thing?" "Yes. It's not just an enemy. It's a wound. And I know how to heal it." She stepped toward a panel now glowing with symbols. The core responded. A platform rose, one built for travel. Not across Earth. Across stars. A star bridge. One last gift from the age before. The core began to open a path. A direct jump to the heart of the hollow star. No ships. Just light and will. Amelia stepped onto the platform. "If I don't return," she said to Ray, "remember the spark. Keep it alive." Then she vanished in a burst of golden light. Far above, within the hollow star, something stirred. The parasite smiled. "Welcome home," it whispered. And the end began. The light was blinding, and then it was gone. Amelia found herself standing on solid ground, or what felt like ground. Beneath her feet was a surface that looked like black glass, but when she stepped on it, ripples of white light spread outward like water. She had entered the hollow star. Around her, everything was strange and shifting. The air felt heavy but silent, and the sky above wasn't a sky, it was a ceiling of swirling shadows, filled with flashing shapes and floating memories, like broken pieces of history drifting in slow motion. Faces, planets, cities, languages, some she recognized, most she didn't, appeared and vanished like smoke. This place didn't follow the rules of reality. Time moved differently here. Directions meant nothing. And deep inside, something was watching her. Amelia moved forward, guided only by instinct and the steady pulse of golden light in her chest. Her footsteps echoed like thunder in a dream. Suddenly, a voice spoke, sharp, cold, but somehow familiar. "You do not belong here." She turned. A figure stood in the distance, tall and still, made entirely of darkness, shaped like a person but with no face. "Who are you?" she asked. The figure replied, "I am the first guardian. The one who broke the vow. I am what remains." Amelia's heart skipped. This was the traitor, the one who had fallen into the void, whose hunger had become the hollow star. "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Why betray the others?" The figure stepped closer. "Because the light lied to us," it said. "It promised peace, but gave us pain. We were made to protect, but left behind. I chose truth. I chose power. Amelia shook her head. You chose fear. And fear became the parasite. The figure didn't move. You think you can stop it, it said. You are a spark. I am the void. I have consumed planets. I have erased names from existence. Amelia looked up, past the figure, at the heart of the hollow star. It hung in the air like a black sun, huge, pulsing, and alive. Tendrils of shadow reached out from it, wrapping around broken ships, bones of forgotten creatures, and towers of lost civilizations. You've destroyed everything, she said. But you never understood what light really is. The figure paused. Light is weakness, it said. Light forgets. Void remembers. Amelia stepped forward. No, she said. Light chooses to remember what matters. It chooses love, sacrifice, hope. That's not weakness. That's strength. The figure raised its hand, and the air around Amelia shook violently. Visions flooded her mind of pain, fire, death. Every loss she had ever felt. Her parents. Her friends. The guardian. But through the pain, she held on to one image, a small, glowing orb, the spark buried deep inside her chest. She reached for it, held it, and let it grow. A wave of golden light burst out from her, pushing the figure back. The shadows hissed and screamed, pulling away. The hollow star trembled. The parasite inside felt the power and feared it. You don't belong here, the voice said again. But this time, it sounded less certain. Amelia raised her hand. Maybe not, she said. But this ends now? The core's energy surged through her. She didn't just carry the light, she had become it. She could see the parasite now, not just a shape, but the truth. It wasn't a creature. It was a scar. A wound left behind when the first guardian gave up on the light. And the only way to destroy a wound was to heal it. She walked toward the heart of the hollow star. Each step made the world crack and shake. The void resisted. Shadows rose like waves. Memories screamed in her ears. But she kept walking. Ray, she whispered through her COMM, unsure if he could hear her, tell Earth, the spark lives. Back on Earth, Ray was surrounded by silence. The core had gone dark the moment Amelia vanished. For a minute, they thought they'd lost her. But now, readings returned, faint, but growing. She's still inside, Ray said. And something's changing. The hollow star above Earth began to crack. Not explode but shift. Its surface pulsed. Inside it, Amelia reached the center. The black heart loomed in front of her. She placed both hands on it. I see you, she whispered. I forgive you. And with that, she let the spark go. The light poured out of her like a river. It filled the hollow star from inside. The parasite screamed not in rage, but in sorrow. And then, silence. The hollow star exploded not into fire, but into stars. Tiny, bright fragments scattered across space like seeds. The black heart shattered, and in its place, a single glowing sphere floated, peaceful, warm, alive. On Earth, people looked up and saw the sky turn to gold. The darkness was gone. The hollow star no longer threatened them. In Alaska, Ray fell to his knees. She did it, he whispered. She really did it. But Amelia was gone. Not destroyed, transcended. Her body was lost, but her spark lived in every corner of the core, in every star reborn from the hollow star's remains. Weeks passed. Earth began to recover. The towers built by the Guardians remained active, creating a shield that would protect the planet forever. Humanity remembered her. Statues were raised. Stories were told. And somewhere in the stars, in a small nebula born from the hollow star's light, a new guardian opened its eyes. It looked toward Earth. Toward home. The galaxy would tremble no more, not in fear, but in awe. The guardian had returned.